Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex and today we're taking a look at Grindstone on the Nintendo Switch. This one, it's a puzzle game. It originated on Apple Arcade, but how does it translate to our favourite console? Well, I'll tell you one thing straight up. Welcome to my new addiction. So with that luck, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. Today we're skipping story because honestly it's more of a setup than anything. Basically George, our oversized warrior, moves to this mountain and takes on the role of bounty hunter. What does that involve? Working your way up the mountain, slaying these beasts along the way, or creeps as they are known in the game. Grindstone, it pulls from a ton of puzzle games you've no doubt played before. There's absolutely no question about it, but putting these pieces together, they've actually crafted something that truly does feel different. Yeah, I gotta say, like, it's nice, kind of like familiar at the same time. So first, the gameplay and idea, it really couldn't be more simple. You control George and you need to connect a string of the same creep types together while trying to reach that kill counter you see in the top right corner of the screen. Well, things, they do start simple and they are mostly there for the slaughter, honestly. The game quickly ramps that difficulty and they will soon be attacking you back. The longer the chain though here, the higher the reward. Not only to, of course, your goal, so you can open the door you see at the top of the screen and like obviously progress the game, but in the form of a grindstone. This title stone, it creates an opportunity for change, meaning you can change the creep type you have targeted, creating progressively more challenging and unique chains. This will especially become important though when more powerful foes begin to appear, so think like wizards, warriors, kings and the like. These are accompanied with a number in the lower corner next to them, and this signifies how far along in a chain you must be before you can destroy them. Move quick with these though, because they do attack and they will move around this board very quickly in between turns. Now alongside this then, all the other creeps, they start to attack too. They get angry, a shaking animation will begin on screen. This will signify it's about to happen, and you can tap that right trigger then to see kind of their attack spread. And I gotta say, later in the game, 200 plus levels, I was frequently accompanied by like a completely red screen of death. So why should you care about these attacks? So, well, you see those 3 hearts in the corner of the screen? Each attack against you costs 1, you lose all 3, and you are going to be starting that level again. With this simple piece of challenge, this combat though, it makes a genre that's so often relaxing, if a little taxing on the brain, and turns it into something actually kind of tense as you make your way up this mountain. That's not all though. Throughout the boards you'll be facing, you'll often see collectibles, whether it's resources for crafting, we'll get to that shortly, to like treasure chests that appear on the map. Sadly, it's not quite as simple as, you know, get to the chest and boom, job done. You need to get the key first, and that is typically being held by one of the creeps on screen. Controlling George then couldn't be easier. In fact, every function is displayed on screen, but I played it both docked with a Pro Controller and Joy-Cons, and then also handheld with touch, and both felt great. In docked, it's almost like, think a cursor with auto lock, and handheld, it's just, you know, a simple swipe away. The port work, fantastic, and you can see actually this isn't just a straight up phone port, but actual effort went in to ensure it took advantage of the much like wider screen space and no doubt the Switch power. Outside of the main mountain climb then, there's a few things to manage. First, that health, it doesn't auto regen. You will need to take a trip to the inn and replenish it with a quick beer. To do this, you use in-game currency that you'll be collecting along the way. Then George, with progression comes more challenge, so it's time to get some goods. So think armor, shields, even actually new outfits. It's a great system that adds a layer of almost think RPG strategy to the whole experience, and you will see these extra items on your screen to be activated at that opportune moment. For example, the first item you will get, it's a wooden shield. It can protect you for 1 turn, so if you really want, let's say, a longer chain run that's ahead of you, but it's going to put you on a block where you will face an attack, just equip this first and now you have no worries. This game even has boss moments to face off against, and these are super creative, so I don't want to give too much away, but some you'll simply need to attack them at the top of the screen and, you know, whittle their life down. An early one though, you can actually be firing bombs back back at it where your chain count actually determines how far the bomb will move forward. Just make sure to get that bomb to the enemy before it explodes around you. This is one thing I've got to say I would have loved to have seen even more of. Not only does the game then have 200 plus levels in this, let's say, story, but also daily challenges. There's basically a lot to come back here for those single player puzzlers out there. Complaints, very few on a gameplay front. While the daily grind of working through like different rooms is fun, you know, you're racking up a high score, I think a traditional endless mode would have been a nice touch. What kept me locked in with games like Tetris for so many years was that level of high score chasing, and that's the one thing I'm really kind of not seeing here. It gives me that reason to play the game for, let's say, 15 minutes or so a day, but not that reason to sit down and sink hours in at a time just bettering myself after the campaign is done. Thankfully though, there is, as I've said, a decent chunk of content here to work your way through before you'll even be close to that point. One last note then, and not really an issue, but just know towards the end game it will require some backtracking and grinding, and that's the only part of the game that I felt like, yeah, this is kind of an iOS game. Overall though, look, this one has me hooked, and yeah, absolutely impressed. Visually stunning, hand-drawn style all over, just absolutely pops, and that broad count of colours, pretty much retina burning. The characters, whether it's George or the creeps, they all have enough animation to give them this like level of personality that few puzzlers can match. Slaying these beasts, and George's animation as he hacks them down is really something special. On starting things up, honestly, I was kind of thinking I'm gonna get bored of seeing this over and over again with no option to skip it, but I can tell you now, not even slightly. The entire time I had a smile plastered across my face like an absolute idiot just watching him go into action. One very smart design they did here, and I think that's kind of what we can thank the repetition not kicking in, you know, it's the longer the chain is, the faster he gets, adding a nice level of satisfaction to kind of like reward you. The only maybe lower quality area, the hub world. So when you see the inn and the store from the outside, you're looking at the world itself, kind of shows its iOS roots just a tiny bit, but otherwise, honestly, jumping to any of these locations, it's going to be hard not to be impressed with the work they've put in here. So audio then, and while there's not a huge amount, we get everything you would expect. The occasional enemy sound, and the sword comes in swinging, of course, and then there's some sounds for the likes of think special enemies, craftable items, and then those precious grindstones. Where Grindstone focuses its audio attention though, it's the soundtrack from Sam Webster, and what a soundtrack this is. It just goes all over the place. Think like lo-fi hip-hop to jungle to synthwave. This is a stunning piece of work where somehow it just changes its genre frequently, but still kind of has that undertone that brings it all together as a collection of tracks that very much feel like they belong together. It is available on Spotify. Even if you don't pick up the game, check out the soundtrack, and also check out Grindstone Volume 2, which is on there as well. So overall, I'm going to let my purchase history here do the talking with this one. They sent me the game for a review, which I always do appreciate it. Then though, about 2 hours into the experience, I headed to im8bit.com. They're doing a limited physical release of this game. I pulled out my credit card and I treated myself to a gift. At the same time, then I ordered the soundtrack on vinyl as well. This one got its hooks into me immediately and just hasn't let go, and that's the sign of true puzzle genius. In fact, honestly, there's a little bit of me saying in the back of my mind, this is a 10 out of 10 experience. That said though, look, the lack of an endless mode and that real reason to keep coming back and, you know, bettering my score just very slightly lets down what could be an experience where you could sink just endless hours in, and hopefully that's something we will see in the future from the devs. With that in mind though, look, still a rare, amazing 9 out of 10, and puzzle fans, buy it immediately. This is one of not only 2020's best puzzle games, but one of the Switch's in general best puzzle games. Thanks for watching. Will you be adding this to the collection, or are puzzle games, you know, not really your thing? They're definitely not for everyone. With that then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.